Hi there. Can you guys hear me okay?
For you.
Thank you, Franz. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm going to take just a few moments to get a little prepped here. I think Jens will be proud of me. I'm trying to use a speakeasy head. Okay. So thank you so much for being here. This is Learning by Leading and Discovering Your Destiny. And I'm Renee Brock-Richmond, otherwise known as Zinnia Zauber. And I want to just double check to see, is my speakeasy head working okay? I'm having a little trouble seeing nearby chat, so that's why I'm asking. Okay. Thank you, Franz. Yeah, I'm very soft-spoken, but hopefully you can turn me up. Okay, thank you, Fiery. I appreciate it. It's great to be able to talk with an audience that understands all the stuff that we go through in order to put together a presentation. So let's see, I think I went a little too far. There we go. Okay. So like I mentioned before, I'm Renee Brock-Richmond, and my avatar's name is Zinnia Zauber. I'm a college professor. I teach art and multimedia and communications and transmedia marketing at Peninsula College in Washington State. And I wanted to share with you guys a little bit about how I use virtual worlds in order to encourage my students to express themselves. You know, a lot of the things that I want to talk about seem to be more, you know, like symbolic and giving us ideas of how we can participate in leading students to do things. And I hope that even though some of it may seem a little on the arty, ethereal side, you'll be able to apply these principles regardless of what kind of class you teach. So this seems like a familiar idea, that within an immersive world, there's a lot of fantastic things that we can do that, you know, we can't always do in the real world. And because we use a virtual world, students can have access to the entire world, which they may not normally have. Now, I live on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington, and my college is the most northwest school in the continental U.S. So we live way out on the peninsula, or as we like to say, at the end of the road. And I like to help my students by producing a space that they can express themselves. I think our job as educators is to help the students connect the dots along the different paths, not as guides, but as those lights that help them. I find that students, you know, are more successful when they make the discoveries themselves. We open up all of those pathways that they potentially can go down, but we're not dragging them along. We want them to make the discoveries themselves. So one of the ways that I do this is to build gallery spaces that my students can present their work in. A lot of my assignments, I have my students have multiple teams, but they can also have spaces that they use as individuals if they've earned it. I love to build teams in my classes, and you may have seen other presentations with me where I talk about building teams of superheroes. In these spaces, it allows the students to express themselves in a safe environment. That gallery becomes a home base for them, and this is where the students feel empowered and they can pursue their passion within the space. I know, for example, I feel really fantastic that I have a place in Second Life to be able to present my work. Do you guys have that experience, that you have a place where you can present your work and share it to the world? And I'll encourage you guys, you can answer my questions. Excellent. It makes a big difference, right? That we have a place that we can share. So along these pathways, there are different factors involved. So I have, yeah, you get a rental space. So we have the elements, and we have the actions, and we have the energies. Now I'm going to go into each one of these things. And talking about these different factors allows us to help students think about things in a different way. So, here we are working in a virtual world. Everything that we do essentially is energy, right? It's just, a different place that we're experiencing things. And we can do anything we want in this space. So to be able to use a couple different symbols or factors or ideas helps generate students' processing of their world, their physical world, not just their virtual world. We talk a lot about, internal things and external things within these spaces. Do you find that, you're being your best self in this space? That's what I encourage my students to be. So let's look at these different elements. So the elements are essential, the essentials to do anything in the world, right? Now, we can say that maybe I'm looking at these things as, potentially how someone expresses their personality. Now, it doesn't have to be, all about, hey, baby, what sign are you? But it can be more about, like, how do you affect things? How do you integrate yourself into a system? They each have different meanings and different ways to express what is possible. So air is expression. We can say someone's full of hot air. Well, they got something to say, don't they? So it's about being creative and communicating. Now, there's plenty of other things that go along with that idea, that air is ease and expressive and active and so forth. These are different things that come up and play. Air is also the opportunity to be a child, to look at things in wonderment. Air is the one that can flow between multiple things. Are you air? Fire. Fire is action. Fire makes things happen. Fire challenges and guides. Now, fire can be related to the south, doing, dreaming. This is the person that, wants to do the impossible and wants to make everyone else do it with them, right? They are the ones that will put the fire under people's butt. Now, I realize that I got a lot of fire in myself. Do you? Water. So water is education. It is the knowledge and to be able to be objective about things. Water is the one that's able to watch and be patient. It's related to the West, and to think and to be transformative. Water can take on many forms, right? It can be a liquid, it can be a solid, and it can be a gas. Are you fluid like that? And earth. Earth is inspiration. Earth grounds us, supports us, and influences us. Earth is there in order to support all of these other things. Earth is also influenced by the air, the water, and the fire. Earth's the one that, we definitely go to if we need some help, some assistance. Earth is related to the north, feeling, and creation. Earth can be passive, but that doesn't mean it doesn't do things, right? So let me go back. I just want to be sure that you guys see these. Okay, so air, expression. So as we've gone through these, have you thought about how would you have a student think about which element are they? Do you find that you have students that are far more expressive than others? Encourage that. Do you have students that are the doers within your class? Do they get to lead different projects? Encourage that. Do you have those that take in this knowledge? Are they the ones that are able to express to others what works and doesn't work? And then the earth. They're the ones that everyone goes to. They're the ones that they often look for reflection through them. You have to have someone that can give you feedback, right? Earth's a great one. So just asking, do you have a sense of which one you are connected to? Deep, that's great. Well, so that's a good question. Ideally or actually, I believe that we should focus on our ideal so that we can make it the actual. Yes, Buffy, I totally see you as earth and fire. Now, if you've ever seen any other talks with me, a lot of the stuff also involves color psychology. And in this presentation, I decided to limit my palette. So it was very difficult, I could tell you. But I want to be able to emphasize these different aspects through these symbols. I like to use icons as well as colors in order to educate folks. So guys, thanks for sharing which elements that you think you are. Yeah, you need a little bit of fire in there to make things happen. Okay, so moving forward, the actions. Now, it's on fire, I'm all about action. And the actions are a way for us to see stages of growth and achievement that are inside and outside. You may understand this when you have students who simply, are in the classroom and glazing over, just observing. Maybe they're spending a little too much on their social media in the class. I don't know. I let my students do that. But what happens is that we go through these different stages. And there's going to be experimentation. The third stage is art activation. And the fourth is a call to action. Now, some people might jump through these stages. Now, I know for myself, I didn't even get into awareness. I just jumped right into call to action, telling people what to do. But then again, that's my favorite thing to do. Point and tell people what to do. So these different stages have different meanings as well. So let's go through those. So awareness. So awareness is action that is happening on the inside. So awareness is looking, seeing. It's taking in the outside, but it's all happening on the inside. It may not be expressing it any other way. It's like being a wide-eyed baby. When we first came into Second Life, were you in this state where you were just wandering around for hours and days? The wind was blowing in your hair. You just couldn't stop. You couldn't log off because it was such an amazing space. Deep, that's a good question. Well, because I like to use the word action, I'm taking it as an action. I think awareness is an action, but I think it could be also a state of being. So thanks for asking about that. So this awareness also is considered an awakening or an openness to learning new ideas and methods. So we can go through awareness multiple times within our life, right? that we may experience new things that we're excited about and interested in. I know that, a lot of us, we may have been working with computers for a long time, we may have been familiar with them, but then we jump into a virtual world that's totally new to us. We have to open up our eyes and experience it. Okay, next one. Is going to be experimentation. So experimentation is action from the outside, outside to the inside. So what does that mean? So that means that we will be taking information from the outside and bringing it within, assessing it, thinking about it, maybe putting it in specific boxes. Do you guys like to put things together? Do you like to do research? I know a lot of folks love to do the research. It's a place that you should feel safe. That a lot of this stuff's happening on the inside. You're not showing anything yet. You're still gathering information. Now some of us avoid this. I don't know. I know when I try to have my students do a little bit of research, they may just do the first thing. Just grab the first thing. I'm like, no, you dig deeper. You gotta look beyond the surface. And you gotta test out some of these things. And you can do this in a safe environment. You can ask questions. You're not exposing yourself at this time. So the next part, art activation. Now, it doesn't have to be about art. It can be simply putting it out there. It can be showing your work. So this is an action from the inside to the outside. So you've been in the awareness state, you've taken in information, you've been really open to things. Experimentation, you've been a little more focused, and you've been taking that information from the outside and putting it in the inside. When we get to the art activation, this is when we're taking the inside and putting it out there. This is pretty scary stuff for people, because you're exposing yourself. Now, as an artist, we're exposing ourselves all the time. As instructors, we expose ourselves as well. Do you guys like to expose yourself? I'm not talking about nudity. I'm talking about sharing your passion, sharing the work that you've done, showing what makes things special for you, and sharing it. I know for myself, I can't help myself. I love to be able to share thoughts and feelings that I have on the inside and then visually represent them on the outside. And then the next state, the call to action. So the call to action is action that's happening all on the outside. It's all out there, man. And the goal of the call to action is to inspire others, to inspire the next step, and to mentor. As educators, that's what we do. We are always throwing out a call to action. We're always putting it out there. And it's pushing the outside. Pushing the outside. So potentially what we're doing is going to be available for those who are suddenly having awareness. We're there to provide material for them. We're there to lend them a hand. And in my case, I'm there to give my students a couple of lindens so they can buy some nice hair or a nice pair of shoes. Now, what's a call to action? I get this question all the time. A call to action. Well, it's a way of really being clear with people to do something, directing people, and also suggesting how they can participate. Part of the classroom is to ask students, give me a verb that describes what you want to do, what you want me to do, or how you want to participate with people. They can come up with a mission statement in that way. And I usually say you can make a mission statement that is 3 verbs. Now, do you think that you could do that? 3 verbs. This would be 3 verbs that you are constantly putting out there, that you're trying to motivate people. What could it be? Well, I suggest that you take a moment and think about it, because I want to see what your call to action might be. Even if it's just 1 verb, I would like to know what your call to action is. Is it learn? Is it buy? I'm going to give you a moment. I can tell you mine. Mine are to create, to educate, and to encourage. So I'll give you a second. I want to see some verbs out there. What's your call to action? Wow, these are great! Look at you. Wonder, a dream, to design and learn, to reflect, to explore, seek and inquire, to demonstrate, to discover. Oh, reflect. Deep, I think that you got the right name for yourself. These are fantastic. So because you have a call to action, does that help guide you? Does that motivate you? Are they like, the jet fuel that you need in order to propel yourself? Sometimes it's kind of hard to find a call to action, and some people who have taken classes with me will know that I will keep demanding that call to action from them to try to understand what their mission is, because I'm interested in motivation. It's a way for us to understand what our potential destiny is. So moving forward. Thank you guys for sharing, by the way. Okay. So I'm going to share a few pictures that are part of these actions. So Felix is one of my students, and he also does video, and apparently he does a lot of karaoke. I need to see that in action. And so in these gallery spaces that I develop for my students, they get to either have a gallery with a team of students, or maybe they'll share a gallery space with another student, or they might have their own space. And when they come into these spaces, they're white. They're all pearly and white. And I have all my students develop a brand for themselves. And when they devise the brand, would include thematic colors. And so they have to go through a lot of color psychology tests with me in order to understand, what the colors are expressing. And so then they get to choose what color their floors will be and what color their walls will be. And sometimes these choices will affect how their artwork on the walls are being viewed, or their videos. So you can see Felix here has put up a number of his photos and a couple of his videos. So because he's now got a space, a home in the virtual world, he's super excited and wants to be able to participate more and invite others to maybe come and see what he's doing. Now, I don't know if you guys have zoomed into my picture here, but you can see that Felix is in the picture there, and his avatar and his actual self have the same hair. very colorful indeed. And he changes it often, which I really like. It's a nice surprise. Okay. So, another example are the students that are still exploring, that are taking in information, that are doing the research. So CITRUS and NLT are the explorers. They share a gallery space. They're the students that have had maybe the longest, and that they come in and they participate. They take a lot of time observing. So CITRUS likes to share his machinima that he's made, and actually they're showing one of his films for the conference. And then NLT is interested in performing his music within the space. You know, we don't have all kinds of different venues where we live, so he wants to take advantage of this audience, you guys. So he practices and investigates how he would do that. So he likes to go shopping, and I like to give him subtle hints where he can find more instruments, which is really great. Okay. So the next one is a gallery space that is shared by students. So this is when we get to the point where it's the art activation. So Black Cat Bandit and Seek and Hide set up a gallery to showcase students' work from our multimedia club at our college. So even students who may not be participating in the virtual world are encouraged to participate in this gallery space. Maybe it'll get them out there. In the physical world, the Multimedia Club does projects together. For some reason, they really like doing zombie movies. I don't know. We have a whole zombie thing at our school, including a zombie run, and there's zombie hunts. There's all those vampires, so I don't know. Zombies, vampires, all of that stuff happens in our place. So the students get together and they collaborate on projects, and they also collaborate within this space. You can see that they're showcasing all their different medias, and they're really big into Minecraft, so they showed a lot of their projects that they've created in Minecraft in the gallery space. And what they're doing is they're taking, you know, what's on the inside, what's important to them, and projecting it on the outside. They also have added music and books within the space. We have some budding authors within our program. And they also put their video projects. I teach the video classes, and I'm always trying to get the students to bring their stuff in world. And one of my favorite ones is a stop motion one they did called Superhero 101. So the students are projecting out there. And it's really scary sometimes to expose themselves, but that's what these gallery spaces are for, in order to allow them to have a place where they can share their experiences. And then the last one, the call to action. So Nasno is one of my students that was the first one to earn their own gallery space. And the reason why she did was because she spent more time in Second Life learning it. I observed she was in all hours just like me. And she was interested in learning more and more about the space. So here you can see her. Now this gallery gives her an opportunity to strengthen her brand. Now she's a multimedia student, and she's also getting into more programming at this time. And so for my classes, that she learned that she needs to develop a brand in order to emphasize what she's capable of doing, in order to be able to do the same for a client. I always tell them that if you can't express, who you are and what you do, how are you going to do that for a client? So you can see that her brand involves the purples and her black kitty. All right. So The other thing that she does is that she helps me tutor new students in Second Life. And here she is with her video camera. That was one of our favorite shopping days, was to find cameras for all the students in my video classes, so they'd look the part, right? So she helps tutor the new students that come enrolled. And part of what I do with mentoring students when they come in the virtual world is that I set up specific virtual office hours that they come in, and I help them, set up their avatars so they can set their appearance and so forth. And we go shopping so they practice how to move around in the world and how to interact with things. And they also learn how they can move things about as well. And what happens is that when students come in, what I try to do is help a few at a time, and then when the next bunch come in, the ones that I started with are in charge of teaching the next bunch. Now, I believe that people learn more by teaching others. And it's a really great system to be able to have them become the mentors. And that's the idea of the call to action, is that we're trying to instill confidence in students. In order to encourage them, you say, go ahead, you can do it. You got this. I trust you. Go for it. And it's very impressive to me how many students who are given that opportunity excel and want to learn more. So Nagna's a really great example of this. And she uses her gallery as a place to be able to learn new skills as well. That home base that she feels safe, that she can work in. All right. And I'm loving her avatar. It's a Unikitty right now. I was like, oh, excited. Yeah, Unikitty! Okay. The energies. So the energies are oscillating waves of force that can guide dynamic, perspective, action, reaction, and reflection. Now, we experience energies all the time. They're invisible, right? But they do affect us in positive and negative ways. So I've set up this little picture here to show how, like a wave of light, these energies will go up and down, and they're always moving, they're always influencing. So what you can see is that the negative will be going downward, the positive will be going upward, the active is at the top, and the reflective is at the bottom. And we go up and down, up and down, up and down through these different states. I'm sure you know you've experienced these. Part of talking about the energies is to help guide students when they go through maybe a time when everything feels like it's going down, 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 down. Instead of it being a depressive state, I encourage them to think about it as a reflective state, a chance to look at what's happening, a chance to figure out what may be their next upswing. So let's look at the different energies. Active. So active is being on. This is being our best self in blissful action. Now, this is probably the state that we want to be in all the time, right? Wait. Which reminds me, I need a sip of coffee, so let me get that. Okay. So with active, we are in it. We are doing stuff. We are so excited. We are blissful. We are doing what we love. I know for myself, this active energy is when I'm in front of the class, when I'm expressing myself, when I'm sharing things and encouraging others. I'm in it right now. Can you tell? So, and during this time, this is when time stands still. People talk about it as when you're in flow, that you're doing the best thing, and being your best self. You're executing skills that you are excellent at, and you're using them in a place that you feel best. Active is where we want to be all the time. Active is where we want to aim for. But, you know what, we can't be there all the time. We need some rest. Which means I need to catch my breath for a second, because I get so excited talking about active. Okay. So after active, you know, we go down. It's negative. And it's not a bad thing. Negative is not a bad thing. You know, we have positive and negative. It's just going in a downswing. It can also, though, be considered destructive, critical, being realistic, regretful. Like you've just gone through the active and you're like, oh, I should have done this, man. It's also, you know, relating to the past when it comes to time. And, you know, some people get in the negative and they're static in that position. Ugh, man, I'm just getting down talking about it. Now, I said it's not a negative thing, right? You know, we have to have a negative time so that we can ramp up to go back to the positive time. We understand how a wave has to ebb and flow. Now, some people may have very short negative time, but you gotta have a little bit of it for sure. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Well, okay, maybe a little bit. I know for myself that I can struggle during this time when I'm going down. That when I've completed something, I'm melancholy. I'm like, ah, like I'm not satisfied I completed something. I'm just sad that it's over. Because I'm going to keep going and going and going. So let's look at the positive. So the positive is when everything's looking up. When we are on the upswing. We are excited about stuff. We're going someplace. We're planning. We have a new president at our college, and he's from the South, and he's always talking about that they're fixing to have a meeting. And we're like, what? What does fixing mean? And then I realized fixing is what I like. I like that state of plan, plan, plan. That before it happens, that's what I'm excited about. So positive is construction and encouraging. That's where we're dreaming of what's going to come. It's future focused and optimistic. You're going to ride this wave for a long time. The positive. This is when things are going to happen. The next one is reflective. Oh, I think I may have missed a little bit in my speakeasy, sorry. So reflective is a chance for you to have a cup of tea or coffee, and it's time for you to pause and rest. And we understand that, you know, in states of being, we do have to have that time to rest. That it gives us a chance to look back. Now, sometimes at reflective time when I talk to my students about where their art is and what they're doing, they may see this as a time that they're doing nothing. And say, no, this is a time for you to be able to create a exhibit of the work you've done. A solo exhibition. Take the time to be able to look at all the things that you've done and accomplished. This is a time to see that there are connections between different things. This is a time to figure out where all those different paths that you've been taking meet to make who you are. This is the place that you get to figure out your destiny. During this reflective time, we are insightful. During this reflective time, we should ask others what they think of what we're doing. Is that a scary thing? Oh my gosh, yes. Asking people to talk about us? Just wait until we get into the critique section. Boy. This symbol you see with the circle and the spokes going through it is also a symbol of being the spirit. Now, I'm very interested in the invisible, and of course, someone who likes to create things, that's really a tough thing. But the invisible makes things happen. It inspires people, encourages them. And within the classroom, within these gallery spaces, having students to be able to put their work up and to stand back and look at it and feel like they've accomplished something is real to them. They are grateful and want to support others to be in the same state. And I like to share with my students what you need to succeed. So Neil lets us know that you need to do 2 of these 3 following things. So to do good work, to be easy to work with, and to be friendly, and to do your work on time. Now you need just to do 2 of these things in order to be successful. What about you guys? How are you on these things? Do you do good work? Are you easy and fun to work with? Do you get your stuff done on time? Now, I fear that my students are starting to follow my lead, and they're okay with doing the first 2. Good work and easy to work with. I'll have to get a little better on the on-time bit with them. Well, and it doesn't help, as a Time Lord, I don't see why we can't do things late. Because you're always, ahead of your time, so it should be okay. So as I mentioned before, we develop these galleries, and it gives students a chance to put their work up. This work can be written work, this can be visual work, this can be videos, it can be music, it can be all kinds of things. And we like to have constructive critiques. Now, I'm seeing my speakeasy still missing stuff. Oh, dang. Let me see if I can find it, so I can put it in chat. Apologize, guys. See, I didn't have all my coffee early enough. Okay. So, constructive critiques. Now, a lot of students are worried about having a critique. Like, they don't want to expose themselves. They think that a critique is something that's negative, that's hurtful. I mean, I do tell them horror stories about when I was in college, and it was definitely a time for crying and passing out and so forth. And within my classroom, it is not that way. It is a chance for us to assess work. And I also try to encourage the students to think about what they really want to get out of a critique. I do require them to go beyond, it's nice, I like it, it's nice. I like them to be brief and concise. It's a chance to express themselves, to practice communication, direct communication. We don't need any hemming and hawing, beating around the bush, do we? Giving them an opportunity to have a critique allows them to also talk about their work in a different way. Have you guys participated in critiques? Feedback on your projects? Do you gain more from it? I know my students do, and I do for myself as well. Feedback doesn't always have to be a negative. Feedback can be something that helps us grow, right? And thanks for letting me continue to post a little extra about how I do critiques. These are the specific guidelines that I give the students. And depending on what kind of critique it is, you only get 5 minutes. So you, as the artist, need to ask what you need. And I always have students ask that specifically. When reviewing your work, what do you want us to focus on? And they're very good at explaining what they need help with, what they want input about. It's one thing to be able to create something. You know, we can put it out there, but we should also get feedback on it. We should also find out if we're being successful at communicating what we need. If we don't do the critique, then we're unable to continue down the path. We're unable to improve or to shift direction, to focus on something new. It's okay to put it out there, but we have to have people participate with it. We grow from those experiences. So I'll share a little bit of wisdom from my parents. Now, we always joke that I'm very patient with my students, but really, it's because I'm very stubborn. So my mom's always saying there's always a break. So when you're trying to pull out into traffic, that's usually what we're talking about this, there's always a break. Just to wait. There's going to be an opportunity. Be patient. And my dad, who's an adventurer, would say, there are no dead ends, only U-turns. Now, because he would always encourage that, we knew that if we were off on an adventure and we hit a dead end, we simply have to turn the car around and continue the adventure. And when I talk about how you can progress in things, and how you can be a problem solver, and how you can be creative, is to know at least 3 ways to get to the same destination. It's very helpful to know all the different ways you can do the same thing. When I teach how to use different applications, I like to show people. You can do it this way through the menu, you can do it this way through the right click, or you can use your shortcut. You find the ways that are best for you. It all depends. I use shortcuts too much that I wear out keyboards. Dang, that's tough. So I've observed that in my HUD, my last few images are missing. I know that I put them in there. So how about I describe them for you? So they are pretty pictures of my gallery spaces. There's a constructive critique. It was in there. So these gallery spaces allow me, I was going to say, learn from your mistakes. That's definitely one of the things that we can see right here, right? So, in giving students an opportunity to have gallery spaces that they can show off their work, and I'm going to throw these things in here, allows them to pursue their passions. It allows them to also learn by teaching. These gallery spaces that I devise for my students are all the same. They will change the colors. They will fill it with their forms of expression. They will design their destinies. So just a real quick review here. And I'm sorry, I don't have my pretty pictures of the galleries. So discovering your destiny. The elements are physical influences. The energies are invisible drives. The actions are mental ambitions. So I have our call to action as educators. Provide opportunities for personal inquiry, public exhibition, and allow students to lead and teach. Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity. And these slides are going to be up on my SlideShare site very soon. Thank you, Buffy. Thank you, Cyborg. Do you have any questions? Thank you. Thank you. The elements. Okay. So in the elements are a way for us to look at just different aspects. So, for example, the fire is the active one. The water is more passive and fluid. So I'll bring up those slides real quick. So the air is expressive, fire is action, water is education, and earth is inspiring. And the reason why the elements come into play is because it's something that it's easy for students to have an attachment to right away. You know, if I ask my students, like, yeah, exactly. So if I ask my students, like, if you would, you know, to dictate, you know, part of yourself to describe who you are, sometimes they'll say, so tell me which body part you are. And they'll kind of look at me in weird ways, and I'll say, well, okay, so my body part is shoulders, that I have really strong shoulders, that I have the weight of the world on them, you know, and then they're like, oh, I can talk about that in a different way. So they're just different ways of talking about things. Thanks for asking. Anyone else have any questions? I also want to encourage you guys to go see my poster exhibit, which is the Courage to Encourage Superhero Origin Stories.
I had to turn.
Let's see. And it also looks like, I was trying to see, I think one of my students is here. Is she here right now? Let's look. Yes. Not yet. One of my students is here. And thank you very much. And so Bonnie hasn't had a chance to set up a gallery space, but she also has had a chance to devise her call to action. And it's really great to be able to have the students come in world and share what they do. And to let other students in other classes, so I was in my social media marketing class, so then like have my video students or my web design students come in and see what she's doing. Thank you very much. I sure appreciate it. And I'm sorry that I had a few missing slides, but you can find them on SlideShare a little later. Thank you.